Welcome back to the Truth Factory. Let's see what interesting news is happening today. Trump takes 2 water breaks in one speech. What? Okay, MSNBC has clearly lost their touch, so let's see what else is going on. No, CBS and CNN. Trump takes 2 water breaks in one speech. Okay, these haterades are trying to make this into an actual story, I guess. But not only is this a non-story, this is a stupid story. They're trying to say that because Trump made fun of Marco Rubio for drinking water during his speech,
it's Rubio!
Trump can never drink water during a speech. But I don't think it was so much the fact that Rubio drank water that was made fun of. It was how he looked when he did it, which is like a total weirdo. And let's be honest, Rubio was only slightly better than Jeb Bush, which is not saying very much.
Please clap.
And I think he only drank water to try to prove to everyone that he was actually human and not a robot, which I'm still not convinced of. And what is that, a water bottle for ants? And then they go on to comment that the water that Trump drank was imported. Well, I have it on good authority that he wasn't actually drinking Fiji water. He was drinking your liberal tears, so cry more because it fuels him. Everyone knows that this is not a real story. But Trump's speeches have been so on point recently and his approval rates are way up. They are looking for anything they can to try to knock him down a peg. And the best that these multi-million-dollar news corporations could come up with thousands of staff and writers was, and I quote, Trump takes 2 water breaks in one speech. Like next they're going to try to make fun of his dessert choices and call that news. Oh wait, they did that. And then they acted like eating 2 scoops of ice cream is an impeachable crime, like impeachment and cream flavor.
He gets 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream with his chocolate cream pie.
Now imagine if, heaven forbid, Trump had 3 scoops of ice cream. Rachel Maddow would have lost her shit and probably committed suicide live on air.
You're not dead and you haven't gone to hell. This is your life now.
I understand that most news is somewhat biased. And to be fair, I can totally admit, as a political comedian, I have a right-leaning bias, probably to the same degree that every late-night comedian on television has a left-leaning bias. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with criticizing the leader of your country, especially if it's done in a way that is insightful, or clever, or funny, or informative, you know, like how I make fun of Justin Trudeau. But this story is none of those things. It's just partisan snark. Snark that was old before John Leibowitz Stewart ran out of steam. Weird gossip articles or outright lies don't make people think. It just gives people an easy avenue to hate something that they're told to hate. No real reason is even given for this article. It's just look at this and hate it. Lampoon has always existed, but real news organizations also used to exist. Now it's all just dick and fart level commentary on things like drinking water or personal tics or whatever. If you want to write snarky opinion pieces, great. I love doing that too. But then don't turn around after and pretend like you're doing something higher or more noble than that. These organizations have become like political TMZ and Trump is their Kim Kardashian. So let's just say what has really been happening since day one. The mainstream media's primary objective has always been to discredit President Trump in everything he does. And from the JFK files, we know that there may have been up to 40 journalists working for the CIA during JFK's assassination, Operation Mockingbird. And even if we want to pretend that the CIA isn't involved today, how can we trust that the mainstream media is not being manipulated by certain wealthy puppet masters for propaganda purposes? With the media's constant attacks against Trump, it's certainly more than suspicious. And even if these news organizations are solely using Trump to sell newspapers without any ulterior motives, which I very much doubt, the mainstream media has become nothing more than sensationalized garbage with no journalistic integrity, just there to distract and divide. So it's not surprising that when you take a look at who owns all of these media companies, you will see some interesting patterns. Here are the majority shareholders in Time Warner that owns CBS and CNN and many others. We have Vanguard Group, BlackRock, and State Street. And then when we look at the majority shareholders in Comcast, which owns NBC and MSNBC and many others, we have Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street again. And then Disney, which owns ESPN and ABC, you'll find the same names. And this is true throughout all major news outlets. You'll see the same names pop up again and again. They also own Monsanto, Lockheed Martin, Google, YouTube, the banks, and almost every major company in North America and the world. They have free range to poison your mind, poison your body, control the economy, censor you, push wars, and then profit from them. This is not a conspiracy theory. These are verifiable facts that are out in the open but rarely talked about. These corporations control your life. So the question is, who controls these corporations? First, the Vanguard Group. Documents have linked the Vanguard Group to the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Bushes, Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, and the Clintons, as Hillary Clinton herself owns a large stake in the Vanguard 500 Index Fund. Also back in 2012, Vanguard paid Bill Clinton $400,000 for 2 speeches, which as we know is a way that they laundered their money. And with BlackRock, if Clinton had become president, BlackRock's CEO Larry Fink would have most likely become the U.S. Treasury Secretary. And then State Street is also tied to George Soros and the Rockefellers. Luckily, surveys have showed that there's been a steady decline in trust in the media since 2001. And maybe people are finally waking up to see that this is all an orchestrated ruse. And it's very likely that the people who control the world did not want Trump to become president, as he could possibly be the biggest threat to their establishment since JFK. So when you understand the political agenda of the mainstream media, you understand that this is not balanced news. And although these companies are incredibly powerful, they are also very fragile, which is why CNN blackmail was a thing, why YouTube and Google censorship is a thing, and why they need to constantly try to discredit Trump and anyone else who can expose them for who they really are. Fake news. Recently, there have been several posts by a user named Q on 4chan, who most people believe is a high-level anonymous source who's been dropping breadcrumbs for weeks, signaling government and corporate corruption, and talking about the Saudis, Rothschilds, and Soros families. I'm going to read you some important questions that this individual has asked, which you don't see being asked or answered by the mainstream media. First, why would a billionaire who has it all, fame, fortune, and a warm and loving family and friends, want to endanger himself and his family by becoming president of the United States? Why would he want to target himself and those he cares about? Does Trump need money? Does he need fame? What does he get out of this?
Would you really like to take over and run the country as you have run your organization?
I would much prefer that somebody else do it. I just don't know if the somebody else is there. I don't know if we have the kind of advocate that you need. We need major surgery. This country needs major surgery.
Are you the surgeon?
I think I do a fantastic job, but I really would prefer not doing it.
Does he want to make the U.S. and the world a better place for his family and for those good and decent people who've long been taken advantage of?
I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country.
Perhaps he can't stomach the thought of mass murders occurring to satisfy Moloch. Perhaps he could not stomach the thought of children being kidnapped, drugged, and raped while leaders and law enforcement of the world turn a blind eye. Perhaps he was tired of seeing how certain races and countries were being constantly abused and kept in need, poor, and suffering, all for a specific purpose. Perhaps he could not in good conscience see the world burn. Why, hours after the election, did 7 people travel to an undisclosed location to hold a very private and highly secured, guarded meeting? Why didn't Hillary Clinton give a concession speech? When was the last time a presidential candidate didn't personally give a concession speech? And what would have happened if the border remained open and the mainstream media continued to brainwash? Let all of that sink in.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
And that is the show for today, and I will try to get at least one more video done by the end of the weekend here. I want to thank everyone for supporting me on Patreon. I want to thank everyone who watches, who likes, who subscribes and comments. This channel is bigger than I ever thought it would be, and it's all because of you, so thank you so much. Have a great night, guys. Meow!